Hey guys, this is the second episode in my character arc series. This episode will be focusing on Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones. For this, I'm going to be focusing on mainly the book series, A Song of Ice and Fire, and if I tried to cover all 5 of them, this would take forever, so I'm only going to be going over A Game of Thrones, the first book. So, her beginning character, it is really focused around her lost childhood, which is associated with the memory of the Red Door. She, due to her heritage and being a Targaryen, has spent the majority of her life so far on the run and in exile. Her brief time where she really got to be a child was when she spent 5 years in Essos, with the Red Door being one of the most memorable parts of the house she stayed in. But among other traits, she has a fear of her brother who has physically and psychologically abused her, and she is also very young and naive to being sheltered, but also moved around a lot. So, for the main events, she was married off to Khal Drogo unwillingly by her brother for an army. Dark turn. But then after a while, she comes to love Khal Drogo and embrace Dothraki customs, which shows a separation from her more young, naive self into just a more experienced and calm, calculating person. And then you really start to see this transition with the death of her brother, Viserys. He is killed by Khal Drogo, and Daenerys is completely accepting of her husband's actions in killing her brother, which shows a major transition from her young, fearful, naive self to the leader she is becoming among the Dothraki. It also brings upon her the pressure of the Targaryen dynasty, which we will go into right now. So, soon after this, she becomes pregnant, and then she is able to quickly transfer the pressure of the Targaryen dynasty and the responsibility of reclaiming the Iron Throne to her unborn child. And then she continues on with this transition of becoming more of a Dothraki leader and transitioning the roles of her unborn child, putting pressure on her unborn child to conquer the Iron Throne. And then the next major event that happens is she saves the witch Mirri Maz Duur. She's a Lazarene priestess, and she stops her from being raped during one of the Dothraki raids, showing that she still is a kind-hearted person despite being with the Dothraki for so long. But then, later, her husband gets a cut and gets infected from a duel. And in order to save her husband from death, she begs Mirri Maz Duur, but it ends up costing her the life of her unborn son. And when she wakes up the next morning, she found that her son was a monster and her husband is brain dead. So this is where Daenerys makes the complete transition from becoming like a Dothraki leadership figure to becoming the leader, which is important to know. But it also forces her to take on the pressure of the Targaryen bloodline and the responsibility of reclaiming the Iron Throne. This transition is finally solidified with the death of Mirri Maz Duur and her husband. She puts them on a pyre and then walks in as it's burning, comes out with the 3 baby dragons. It's quite literally a symbolic version of the phoenix rising from the ashes. And it really establishes her as the Dragon Queen. So at the end of this book, she is a confident leader. She feels entitled to the Iron Throne. She accepts her role as Khaleesi and rightful heir to the 7 Kingdoms. She's also hopeful, but experienced, and not the naive little girl she once was. And she's really moved on from her lost childhood, and seeks that home that she never had on the Iron Throne. Well, that's it. Thank you guys for tuning in.